Welcome to this special interview during this World Breastfeeding Week 2023. My name is Lizz Ntonjira. I'm the Communications and Engagement Director at WomenLift Health, a non-profit organization that works with partners across the globe to accelerate the advancement of talented women from mid-career level into senior leadership positions in global health. Now, the theme for this year's World Breastfeeding Week is Let's Make Breastfeeding and Work. With me is Mr. Paul Kasimu, who's the Chief Human Resources Officer at Safaricom, who will tell us more about this amazing work policies that you have.
Most welcome, Liz, and this is what we call the call center. So we have about almost 1,800 of our staff here.
So let me start off with, you guys have been lauded as having one of the most progressive policies and practices that promote gender equity. And this week we're focusing on World Breastfeeding Week. What really inspired Safaricom to take this route?
First thing is who we are as Safaricom. And at Safaricom, we believe in purpose, people before profit. And our purpose is to transform lives. We also believe that we should not leave anyone behind. And one of the things we ask is a more equitable workplace does bring everybody on board. So some of those belief systems drive what we do. Specific to what we are talking about in celebrating motherhood is a whole belief that motherhood should not be a punishment, and neither should it be a choice between a mother and a career, because life in its totality should have both. We looked at workplace policies and facilities and said, what is it that we could do to make you feel at ease when you're at workplace? And the one thing we found was, with an average age of 35, there were first-time mothers, there were mothers who had the small kids, and there was always that question of, I need to check on my baby. And we said, what if? Which is why we have this amazing facility.
I love the fact that you mentioned motherhood shouldn't be a punishment, because a lot of people even fear getting pregnant because it looks like a whole year of work because of maternity leave, breastfeeding, but you have a way of integrating women from their maternity leave back into the workplace. What are some of those practices that Safaricom has been doing?
So the first thing we looked at was, how do we have a compelling employee value proposition? And we did two things. One, we looked at our policies. And the very first of those were around the leave that we grant mothers. So our maternity leave is 4 months. And in addition, you take your annual leave. And then when you're back, we give you a 30-hour week for 6 months. We established the creches, and the creches were bring your child to work. And it doesn't have to be you are the mother. You could be the father and you bring your kid. So we said even fathers do have a role to play. And then we have mothers' rooms where we can have mothers, breastfeeding mothers, express themselves, store some of the milk, but do it in dignity.
And how have these policies influenced women within your workplace in Safaricom advancing into leadership positions? Has it influenced it in any way? Has it influenced also the business in terms of profitability? Because now people are working with a peace of mind.
First, what we are talking about here, enabling mothers to thrive at work, is not a good to have. It's not a nice to have. It's a business imperative. And business imperative in terms of we are an attraction destination of female talent. At the moment, out of the 5,772 employees that we have, 51% of those are women. Beyond just the numbers, something that most organizations don't look at, which is pay equity. For a similar piece of work, are we paying you the same, irrespective of gender? And we found we are 50-50, which was another big milestone.
What is your advice to other institutions, and how can they break down these inequalities so that motherhood is not viewed as a liability to the organization?
The more inclusive you are as a society shows how you've grown as a society. One of the things we started with was the SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals, because we also found, how do we create a sustainable business? A mother who has the anxiety of how is my child, how am I placed, will not be balanced in the workplace. Organizations that want to attract, retain high-performing employees. The one thing we've found is also building psychological safety, where people can honestly say, this is what is working, this is not what is. It's also about enabling your people to be the best, and that's why the facilities help. We discovered that absenteeism went down because of this mother's room, the creche. Mothers didn't have to say, I can't go to work. We also got a clinic in-house, and we got an external provider. And you know what happened? Temperature is high. There's a nurse who comes on site. People give your all if you give your all.
What is the role of men in appreciating, women and the needs for breastfeeding and the working moms coming back to work?
I think it's a case about how we role model and champion that. And like at Safaricom, one thing we have done is He for She initiative, where we bring men to talk about the role of women. Mothers normally are the most favorite. Their wives, their daughters, and say, this is how I would want my daughter to be treated. And I think that's something that we have found when men become the leading kind of proponents of equity in the workplace, especially gender equity. So men who create that welcoming environment also help drive equity in the work.
Amazing. Now, I will lean in on your leadership expertise over the years in the field, in just the leadership field, around issues to do with the popular saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And people have used this often to hide under patriarchal systems. What needs to be done generally for women to break these harsh barriers that are created? And why must we change now?
I think the first bit is just mindset. And the mindset is where we say, first, can we change our belief systems that motherhood is not a punishment. Motherhood should be celebrated. And that is how societies, thriving societies should. That said, I would say partnerships where people can share best practices, tell their stories, and also have women-specific initiatives. Like at Safaricom, we've started from the very basics where we talk of Code Like a Girl. We go to women in technology and also bring cohorts of women who can mentor. I think when we also bring these stories, when we tell the stories loud and share some of the best practice, people will ease around. Actually, providing for a mother's room is not breaking the bank.
As we wind up, what is your call to institutions, not just global health institutions, but across all sectors, from the kind of approach that you've embodied and you've embraced? Where can people start? What is your final rallying call to them?
Safaricom has survived a lot of jolts just because of our purpose of transforming lives. So that context is the first thing I would say. If organizations provide that, then the why becomes very easy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul Kasimu, for all those insights and for the incredible work that you're doing to ensure that the environment at Safaricom is enabling for working women. There you had it, World Breastfeeding Week, making breastfeeding and work. A beautiful example that we've heard and learned from Mr. Paul Kasimu and what Safaricom has been doing and what we advocate at WomenLift Health for the creation of a thriving environment for women to be able to work at peace, a place where diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging are embraced.